Hello class, welcome back. It's great to see you. This unit series is called Types of Sentences. There are 7 lessons in this unit. These 7 lessons, we will be studying the 4 types of sentences: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. Before I begin the lesson on these sentence types, I want to make sure that you have opened or printed the guided notes page that goes with this lesson. This will help you follow along in the video and keep your brain active. You can find this handy document either on my live worksheet page, in a link in the description below, or if you're in my TS99 class, I attached it to an email that I sent with this week's work. If you look at your screen now, you will see what these guided note pages look like. There's a different note page for each of the 7 lessons. Make sure you look at the title at the top of each of the note pages and make sure it matches the title of the video. Let's go ahead and begin talking about the sentence type for today. This lesson is the 4th lesson in the series called Types of Sentences. It's the 2nd part of complex sentences. Today we're going to be talking again about that complicated sentence type called complex sentences. Make sure that you have your guided notes for complex sentence, and the title on that would say Subordinating Conjunction, Punctuation Rules. Make sure you have that page before starting this video. So let's go ahead and begin talking about the punctuation rules for complex sentences. As we begin to unpack these complex sentences, there are some terms and ideas that you need to understand. So like I said, there are 4 lessons on complex sentences, and this is the 2nd. In the first one, we talked in detail about subordinating conjunctions. This lesson will help you understand the punctuation rules. Let's go ahead and start to look at the 3 important punctuation rules you need to know in order to write good, complex sentences. So the first punctuation rule for coordinating conjunctions is this: when a dependent clause begins the sentence, it should be followed by a comma. The example, because the purple dragon was lonely in the castle, it fell in love with the donkey at first sight. That dependent clause began the sentence, so we did use a comma. Now, rule number 2 says that when the dependent clause occurs in the end of the sentence, it should not be preceded by a comma. For example, the purple dragon fell in love with the donkey at first sight because it was lonely in the castle. Did you see how that dependent clause came at the last part of the sentence and we did not use a comma? Now the 3rd rule is that when the clause is placed in the middle of the sentence, it's kind of like an interrupting thought. It needs to have a comma on each side. Let's look at an example of when the dependent clause is in the middle of the sentence. The purple dragon, because it was lonely, cried every night. Did you see how it started with a comma and ended with a comma because that clause was in the middle of the sentence. So now that we've talked about some of those punctuation rules, let's go ahead and try this for ourselves. You're going to see on your screen 6 sentences. I want you to decide whether each sentence needs a comma, and if it does, where to put it. Now remember the 3 punctuation rules. Think about whether the clause is coming in the beginning, needs a comma, the end doesn't need a comma, or the middle where it needs 2 commas. Pause your video, complete the activity, then turn your video back on and I'll give you the correct answers. Go ahead and pause your video now. So class, let's see how we did. Now these are examples that have to look just like what I did. I've highlighted in red where the clause was to help you remember whether or not you use a comma or not. So in the first sentence, we do need a comma because it begins the sentence. As long as you tell the truth, comma, you won't be in trouble. Let's look at the second sentence. In this sentence, the clause is at the end of the sentence, so it does not need a comma. I will bring my sleeping bag because I will be tired. No comma. Look at example number 3. The clause is in the beginning of the sentence, so yes, it needs a comma. Even though it was raining, we had fun in the pool. Now let's look at example 4. In example 4, the clause is in the middle of the sentence. That means we need a comma before and after the clause. Darla, whenever you set a date, send me an invitation. Let's look at example number 5. In this sentence, the clause is at the end. Will be good so that we can earn an allowance. No comma because the clause is at the end. And the last one, you see that the clause begins the sentence. So, if you assign homework over break, comma, I'll just die. I realize that was a lot of information in this video. Learning a new language takes time and lots of practice. It can even be more difficult when you can't be in a classroom face-to-face with the teacher. Although there's nothing more that I would like than to be able to be in that classroom face-to-face with you, there is an advantage to having these lessons in a video format. You can always pause the video, write notes and questions, and even repeat instructions that you might need to hear again. Also, don't forget that each of these videos in this series have a guided notes page for you to use. As you watch the video, fill out these guided notes. There's also many activities for you to practice what you have learned. These activities are either in your workbook on the live worksheets, or if you're not in my class, you can find links to these activities in the comments section below. So for now, this concludes today's lesson. But before you go, I'd like to ask you to do a few things. If you enjoyed this video, please show me by hitting the like button here. You can also subscribe to my channel, which will notify every time a new video gets posted. If you have friends or family or other people who you think might enjoy this video, why don't you share it with them? And of course, if you'd like to comment, I'd love to hear from you. Write a couple examples of some of the sentence types you've learned today. And lastly, please know what a blessing it is for me to share my passion with you. Thank you for allowing me to come on this journey with you to learn English. Goodbye for now. I'll see you very soon.